Today we're going to see how to launch an all-in-learning assessment from an embedded link in a lesson plan. I'm logged into All-in-Learning, and if I go to my lesson plan and click the link to the All-in-Learning assessment, it will open to this screen in All-in-Learning where I can click Post to Student Portal. These same steps will probably work if you're not logged into All-in-Learning first, but you'll be asked to log in after clicking the link. So I click Post to Student Portal, I select my class, and I click Start for selected classes. Now we have some setup options for how this assessment will be administered. For example, I've got some student tools like Scientific Calculator and Dictionary. Follow your team's leadership on which tools to turn on or to leave off. Assessment availability, like defining a time window or an assessment time limit. And then this one is important to note. The audio accommodation and speech-to-text accommodation is by default limited to IEP accommodated students. However, occasionally a student's demographic data may not be in All-in-Learning yet because it may not have synced from your student information system. And so that you can be compliant, we give you the ability to turn off this restriction and say no, don't restrict it. Of course, you would need to monitor that students are using this appropriately, but it does enable you to accommodate that student. And then you can also limit the students who this assessment is going to be activated for. Maybe this is an activity you only want to assign to a few students. In this case, we're going to leave it assigned to all and say no, we're not selecting a subset. You can also require Respondus Lockdown Browser if your institution uses that by saying yes. And now we're going to go ahead and click Next. And then clicking this Activate button is what will make it live for the students. Since you can launch for multiple classes at once, we'll show the list of classes that you just made this active for, and you can click on the green class name to see the progress as students complete their assessments. Let's take a look at the student's perspective. The student will see the assessment you just launched, and they'll simply click Launch Assessment. Here they can see the passage. This is the question prompt. And here's where they'll enter their response. The student at any point can click Save Work, and when they're finished, they click Submit Work for grading. When they're done with the entire assessment, because there may be multiple questions, they'll navigate to the end of the assessment. This is the summary screen where they can click I'm finished. Then they can click Exit. Back in our teacher account, we can see that the student has finished, and we can see that they actually received 100 because they got a 2. This rubric score goes from 0 to 1 to 2, and they received full credit for their work. And then we can see other students as they finish. The teacher doesn't have to stay on the screen the entire time. They can navigate to other places within the software, or they can click Leave Session Active and then go do other things. And you'll see on the dashboard that this assessment is in progress. You can always come back to the assessment by clicking View End. So we're just going to go back to it to view it and view the progress again. If you see that a student has a score, but their name has not turned green, it means they've submitted a response, but they haven't yet clicked I'm finished. When a student is finished, you can click the hand icon, and you can view the student's work. Here you do have the ability to adjust the score, but you can see the AI has already graded and already provided feedback. Now as a teacher, you can edit the feedback, maybe to provide a word of encouragement, for example. Click Save Feedback, and then click Close. As you can see, as we're monitoring progress, we can already start making some decisions about what students would need to do next. And when all students have finished, we'll click End Session, and say, yes, I'm sure I want to end the session and create a report. And you'll be prompted to add this data to your progress tracker. And I would always say yes to this. It's very easy and you're going to get great data from it. Okay, if this is the first assessment you're adding to a tracker, it'll let you know it's going to create a new tracker based on this class and this standards body. And when we're done, we're automatically going to be in the Reports Sessions tab, where we can click on the report we just created. And you see we've got a lot of different ways to drill down into data. Under each one of these tabs, there are several other report views, but you'll quickly find a couple of favorites. As soon as your students finish, they're going to want to know, how did I do? You can come to Student Analysis, Student Feedback by Question, and post to the student portal. Click Confirm. And now the student will be able to see their feedback in the student portal. You also have the ability in this report to view the student work and to see AI Insight to Action, which can give you a terrific AI analysis of how students may grow in different aspects of their writing. This is great for immediate subgrouping. This analysis is ready for you instantly. And then finally, let's go look at what a progress tracker is. A progress tracker will show you over time, by standard, how students are doing. So each time you get data, you're accumulating a perspective of the class growth and each student's growth. You can even post this to the student portal, so each student will see their very own tracker with just their information and take ownership of their growth. Now we're logged into a principal account, and we can go to Reports and look at our progress trackers. Let's take a look at this G3 Writing DOL tracker. We can see data for the classes. This is data for each teacher, and we're seeing over time if there's growth happening. Every time that this standard is assessed, it's going to put an entry for that day, and it's going to show the number of questions tied to that standard for that day and how students did over time. So I can drill down into this teacher. We can see how this teacher's students are doing over time. We can identify students that are lagging behind, and we have a terrific record of the history of this student's comprehension. We also have the ability to drill down into an assessment, drill all the way down and see for ourselves what a student answered, what the analysis was, and see many of the same reports that a teacher can see. And as a district administrator, we can also see trackers. Which will let us see progress at each campus, by teacher, and then drilling down into those teachers' students. Again, this is showing for every time this standard was assessed. We've got 3 different assessments here. How did students do on all of the questions? In each of these were a single SCR assessment, and we can see how students did on each one of these over time. We also have the ability to go down by campus and see sessions, see data teams, and reports that are common to data teams, as well as individual sessions and common assessments, and a whole host of other district-wide data with different ways to drill down.